Most anime are about power, some are about destiny, some are about hard work, but One Piece is about freedom, and not the kind of freedom most people think. Because in One Piece, freedom isn't about doing whatever you want. It's not about strength, and it's definitely not about ruling over others. In fact, the world government doesn't fear Luffy because he's strong. They fear him because freedom spreads. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why One Piece might be the deepest story. From the very beginning of One Piece, one idea has been repeated more than any other. Not power, not justice, not even treasure, freedom. Gall D. Roger didn't say he was the strongest man on the seas. He said he was the freest. And Luffy doesn't want to rule the world. He doesn't want to control people. He doesn't want to be a hero. He just wants to be free. But here's the question most fans ask: what does freedom actually mean in the world of One Piece? Because if freedom was easy, the world government wouldn't exist. If freedom was harmless, history wouldn't be erased. And if freedom didn't threaten power, Joy Boy wouldn't be a forbidden name. Luffy's idea of freedom is simple but dangerous. Luffy doesn't want followers. He wants companions. He doesn't give orders. He trusts people to choose their own paths. Think about it. Zoro follows Luffy not because he was forced to, but because Luffy never stood in the way of his dream. Robin stays because Luffy gave her something no one else did, the right to choose to live. Sanji returns because Luffy didn't demand loyalty, he waited. Luffy's freedom is never selfish. His freedom only exists if others are free too, and that's what makes him terrifying. Now let's talk about false freedom, because One Piece is full of characters who believe they are free. Doflamingo believed freedom meant control. Kaido believed freedom meant strength. The Celestial Dragons believe freedom means standing above everyone else, but every single one of them is a prisoner. Doflamingo is trapped by his past. Kaido is trapped by war. And the Celestial Dragons are trapped by fear. They don't live freely. They rule desperately, and that's the difference. Power without freedom always collapses, and Oda shows us this again and again. The world government doesn't fear pirates. They fear ideas. That's why they erased the Void Century. That's why Ohara was destroyed. That's why Joy Boy's name is forbidden. Because once people understand freedom, they stop obeying out of fear. Joy Boy wasn't dangerous because of strength. He was dangerous because he represented a world where people were not owned. And Luffy, without even knowing it, carries that same will, not through speeches, not through politics, but through action. He frees islands without meaning to. He destroys systems by accident. And that's why the world government is desperate. Roger couldn't finish the journey, but instead of ruling, he laughed. And then he passed the torch. Not of power, but of freedom. The will of D is not about destiny. It's about defiance. It's about smiling in the face of control. Luffy doesn't know Joy Boy. He doesn't know history. He doesn't know the truth of the world. But he embodies it. And that's what inherited will truly means. Luffy doesn't overthrow governments. He breaks chains. Alabasta, Dressrosa, Wano. Each time the same pattern appears. People don't follow Luffy because he commands them. They follow him because they are free around him. And that is why the final war will not start with weapons. It will start with people choosing not to kneel. One Piece is not saying freedom is easy. It's saying freedom is expensive. It costs comfort. It costs safety. It costs control. But it's the only thing worth chasing. And that's why Luffy will become Pirate King, not because he's the strongest, but because he is the freest. So here's the real question. When Luffy finally reaches Laugh Tale, when the truth of the world is revealed, will the world finally be free? Or will it finally collapse under the weight of that freedom? If this video changed how you see One Piece, consider subscribing. And tell me in the comments, what does freedom mean to you?